Hail a woman, hold a woman, heal a woman, hey, hail a woman, hold a woman.
Hello, my name is Donna Raymond. I'm a wise woman, sacred feminine mentor and educator at wisewoman.com and donnaraymond.com.au. I felt to make this video today and to share with you a little bit of insight because I get asked on many different occasions why even do womb work or what is womb work. So, just to share a bit of personal insight on this journey, when I found my way into connecting with my womb and the power that lays within there, I felt like I'd returned home more fully, to put it simply. And I've always been a really sensitive and intuitive person, but since journeying with my womb and cultivating a relationship with her, I have found that my intuition has strengthened to a point where I don't doubt it anymore. And I also pick up on, how do I even say this? Because I'm so sensitive, I pick up on things before the collective, so to speak. So I find that I will be processing energies or different themes, and then about a week later, I kind of hear around me that people, mainly women, are going through these types of experiences and situations that I was processing the week before. And part of the reason I feel that I do that, and maybe you do as well, is I know that I've been called to be of service to help other women through this. And so it makes sense that I would feel my way through and have these experiences, journey through them, navigate them, find the maps and the medicine, and bring it back to be able to help other people through if they choose to journey the way that I journey through, different techniques or whatever. So, womb work. The womb is a very, very sacred container. And for those women that have a physical womb, when you tune in, you can place your hands over the top and you can actually bring your awareness into this space. And for those women that don't have a womb, whether it's been removed or if you just identify with being a woman but not actually physically born into that gender, so to speak, or you're gender fluid, you can actually tune into the Great Mother womb, essentially. So if you're a visual person and you want to be able to access the womb space, you can picture a big cave, like, deep in the Mother Earth, and breathe into that space. And that the cave or the cavern that you'll see, it is dark, it's void of light, so to speak. So the light that we bring in is our presence, is our awareness to that. Because the womb is dark and it's damp and it's fertile, it's a really great hiding place for stuff, mainly trauma. So, in my journey as a facilitator of the women's mysteries and healing, I have had the privilege of being able to help women not only access the womb space but identify trauma and experiences in the pain body which have anchored into the womb. And the interesting thing about the womb is because it's so vast and open, when you think you've gone in and you've done the work and you've transmuted the energy, you've integrated the shadow and you've healed it, you can come to that same space years later and find that there's little facets still left behind. And that's why it's really important to constantly check in with yourself. The womb is the creative center. It is where life begins. And as women, as a womb man, we have the privilege of being able to contain life within our wombs. That imprint is there. Whether or not you journey with fertility and you have the ability to physically incarnate another life into your womb, you still have the capacity to anchor in visions and dreaming into being for goals or intentions that you would like to see fulfilled into this life, and so that you can anchor them in the womb and nurture them just like you would a baby. And so in this space, it's not really a machine, and that's not the best word that I could be using, but we'll just add that in for now. But it's like a machine for alchemy. And it's a way that we can turn one thing into another. And a lot of the magic and wisdom that lays in the womb is that we can actually alchemize our shadow and bring our conscious awareness into those places of ourselves that we've discarded into the shadows and bring them to the light for healing, for integrating, so that we can become more full, more whole, more authentic, more sovereign in ourselves. Womb work, it can be really intimidating to start with. And I know when I decided to name my women's circles the Womb Temple, it kind of generates a kind of a resistant energy, and I find that that's really funny with most real like potent healing modalities, or where you feel you're called. There's usually a bit of resistance to start with, and that's usually comes from a psychological place, because our brain likes to keep us safe. And if we're dealing with trauma, which could be anchored in the womb, our brain will send us signals to, ooh, not go there, because we're going to activate that or relive it. And the thing about trauma, where you need to be really, really mindful of doing any type of work and journeying with any facilitator or counselor or psychotherapist, whoever it is that trauma is a perception of the mind, right? And when you go into memory and into story, you have the capacity to reanimate the trauma, where the brain cannot actually differentiate between then and now. And so we can go through visceral experiences as if that trauma was actually happening to us in the moment. So that's why it's really, really important when you're doing your womb work to make sure that you're in a very safe environment. Not only safe physically, but a psychological safe environment, so that you need to create that space necessary that you can be vulnerable and that you can process whatever it is that comes up or comes through for you. Because sometimes, we like to think we know what we're going in there for, and then we are like presented with something. Our womb can present us with something that's like completely left field, and it can hit us for an energetic 6. So you've got to be prepared for that if it is to arise or to come up. So womb work for me is an internal journey. It's into the internal realms, and I usually do it whether I'm walking on the land or outside in nature to have a really clear connection, or when I have the capacity to sit in my space. So here I've got my womb temple. This is my sacred space where I come to navigate those internal realms for myself, to find out what's mine, what is actually there, and what story and what's ancestral imprints. Because going on the ancestral imprint realm, we all come from the mother's womb, right? But your mother, so if we go, it's like a fractal too, because your mother was in the grandmother's womb as an egg. So essentially you're inside your grandmother's body. And that goes for not only for women, but for men as well, because the cells that become assigned to sperm cells are still in that fetus. And I can't remember at which week gestation that they develop. So, whatever your grandmother was feeling and going through in her time is imprinted into us as your mother is grown into the womb, her imprinting as well. And then as she grows you into the womb, then you're imprinted with her sensory information from the physical environment, and then your birth through. So you have these generational imprints, which are like fractal in nature. And when you're dealing with a really fertile environment, such as the womb space, you might find that there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't yours. And part of the process of coming to awareness and presence is so that you can journey into those realms to clear up story and heal yourself. And that you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the future generations of children that are to walk. And that's not just if you have children, because if we change our story, we change the way that we relate to other people and that other people relate to us. So there's a really profound ripple effect that we can take responsibility for this work, and the depth and the magnitude of this work is beyond profound. That, even when you feel like you're not doing too much and it's all internal stuff, is it can be so profound that you may not even comprehend the scope of it, and it can come back full circle later. And you might have an opportunity where you go, oh, that's because I did that work fucking 10 years ago or whatever. So it's all relative, and it's all important, and it is essential. I just want to add, before you do any womb work, whether it's meditational or an embodiment practice, or internal exploring, or through sexual practice, um, if you're going in a meditative space, it's really, really important that you anchor to the earth first. And I know in my journey of, kind of in the spiritual um, movements and my growth and learning about spirituality, a lot of the meditations that I would participate in, particularly guided meditations, I found that the facilitators would take you out to the cosmos first. You kind of go out and then go on this epic astral visual journey. And I just want to bring this to light, that it's really important to ground first before you go out on your big vision quest, because you need to know how to get back home. You need to know that you're anchored and that you're supported in your body here, because essentially this is what you've got to come home to. This is where it's at. Because sometimes, and this is even, if you're going into any type of ceremony and using entheogens as well, as anchor into your body. Because some people, particularly when you're exploring these vast psychological spaces of the psyche, you might not come back fully. And that's a very real thing, particularly if you're using any type of substances to increase your journey, each to their own, as long as it brings no harm to others. You've got to be really, really responsible and have that self-responsibility and self-accountability, that you are sovereign and that this is your journey for you, and to just be respectful to yourself and to be safe above all. I'm kind of like the safety queen. I need my little high vis hard hat and everything, and be preaching, you'll be safe now. So why do womb work? I do womb work to liberate myself from story and from unnecessary suffering and from drama. Because I find I, as an intuitive empath, and I'm highly sensitive as well, I pick up and I absorb a lot of people's stuff. And that stuff can be really fucking sticky, yeah? And before I knew how to clear myself and to cultivate energetic and spiritual hygiene, I would be playing out other people's stories, or I would be taking on their pain body, and I'd be feeling it, in my muscles, and I don't want to do that, because it's not my story. So part of the journey in doing the womb work is also working with my cycle as well, and that I can shed and release expectations on my bleed. And there's great and profound magic and power working with your monthly blood. So why do it? Why not? I feel that there is a resurgence of remembering happening, and that women are returning to the seat of their power, and they are claiming their roles as women, as woman, and the power and the responsibility that lays there in the womb it's kind of like beyond anything that we can imagine, because there is infinite possibilities there in that vast, expansive space. It's like the macrocosm and the microcosm. It's totally connected to the possibilities in the external world and our internal world. And because we are mothers and we have the capacity to birth the new generation, it is particularly important to make sure that this area is clear, of any other imprints or stories, so that we're not passing that on to these children that will become the new custodians of the land and of the earth. So it's definitely really important to journey and have that dance and creating a relationship with your womb, like a sister, like your best girlfriend, and constantly check in with what's going on in there. What are you holding on to in your sacred vessel, in your holy grail, in your sacred chalice? And are the waters clear? Yeah, is the internal waters. And the waters can and be our subconscious language of the emotional realm, the energy and motion. And are they fluid and are they flowing, or is it stagnant, and are we holding on to old stuff that is keeping us from becoming our best embodiment of self?
Whoa.